Chess Master R. Rats here at chess.com, analyzing a game submitted by Sirtirtha11. This is for my member best game thread, where members may post a game of their choice and I'll make a video. Best game or game you need help with. The thread just about closed down though. I'll lock it soon when I get them all caught up. Okay, anyway, this was played on a time limit of one move every 3 days, and let's have a look. Okay, this is a pretty odd move. I imagine somebody's played it before, but there's really no need to move this knight right away a second time in the opening before White's got everything developed. Just about any move is good here. One I would say is you don't want to play f6. It looks natural because you say when the knight moves back you form a pawn center, but that just allows queen h5 check, and black's a little embarrassed. So how do you exploit a move like this? Well, just develop. That's the simplest way, and that's what black does. Okay. And both sides continue to develop. And so far so good. But now White does something rather odd in my opinion. He now brings the knight back. And basically this is just handing black 2 tempos. If you were to look at this position right now and just count its 7 moves played, it looks like White has only played 5 moves. E3, D4, B3, Bishop B2, and Knight F3, where black has played 6 moves. 3 pawn moves and a queen, bishop, and knight have moved. Plus it's black's turn. So what should White do instead? Well, he play a lot of different moves. F4 is one of them. It cedes the E4 square to, excuse me, it cedes the E4 square to black, but that happens a lot in the Dutch, Stonewall Dutch. It's just a bad move. And well, how do you take advantage of that? Well, simple. You develop. And that's what black does. I might have considered putting the knight on C6, but really doesn't matter. And both sides continue to develop. Now White probably should, before he does anything, open up the center. He should probably develop his king's bishop and get castled. But still, black's got comfortably equality simply because, as I've noted, White has handed black 2 tempos. What White does is go into a strategic idea of saddling black with what they call the hanging pawns. Okay, see these 2 pawns I've highlighted in red? If you eliminate the these guys here, if you eliminate them, these pawns are what we call hanging. One can defend the other, but at the moment neither is defending the other, and whichever one defends a pawn, it'll become a backward pawn and on the open file. And there are a lot of openings that lead to these situation with the hanging pawns, most notably being the Tartakower system of the Queen's Gambit declined. There's a lot to be said about hanging pawns. I'll say something in just a moment when we get to that point. Okay. And both sides are still neglecting getting castled. Now finally black does. And then White makes a thrust. The idea is to somehow be able to take on h7 with mate, but it's not going to happen. This knight's covering it. So that knight's been busy. It's moved 3 times and really hasn't done all that much. And black's rooks are connected. He does the right thing. He continues his development. Okay, might have put it on C8, but it really doesn't matter. And here we have the classical position with the hanging pawns. Now, I guess there's a game that I usually don't recommend going to look at other games other than your own. But there's one game, and if you can find the annotations on it, great. The original annotations from Players Chess News. But the game is Korchnoi versus Karpov, Game 1, World's Championship match, 1981. This is what was also known as the Massacre in Murano. They had played 3 years before in the Philippines, in Baguio City, and it went down to the last game. In the rematch, Korchnoi just fell apart in a hurry, and Karpov annihilated him. But in Game 1, Korchnoi had the white pieces and forced the hanging pawns on Karpov, and all Karpov did was just sat there and solidified his position, kept making little small tweaks to it to keep it rock solid, and eventually what transpired was these hanging pawns, that there's some point when they can advance and open up lines, and unfortunately for Korchnoi, they advanced on him, and Karpov just got this overwhelming attack. It's easy to find if you search for it. It's the first match game, and I've talked about these hanging pawns before in videos. It's always good to talk about them again. Generally speaking, the more pieces on the board, the more valuable they are. The fewer pieces on the board, the less valuable they are, because you'll finally get down to an ending where they can become targets. But while they're on the board, they have this tactical chance to go wild on you. Now, there's one thing though that kind of disturbs me. White has an option to play knight b4 and picking up the bishop pair, so maybe this bishop belonged on e7, but Black chose not to put it there. Of course, White spent some tempos. Black can safeguard it with a6, but he never does. Anyway, I guess Black felt the time was now to strike with advancing the hanging pawns, but I don't know, just a6, and follow with just slowly improving your position. Rook e8. See what White does. Get all your pieces into play first. But anyway, d4. Now comes this, and there goes the bishop. Generally, you don't want to allow that if you have the hanging pawns, but it's working out. And here White does something really odd and peculiar. He castles queenside. And to me, that's just asking for it. That queenside is going to open up, and the black position is going to have such incredible attacking chances. B3 is weak, A3 is weak because they're both advanced, and this D file could be opening up, although not right now. The black queen's on it. Black's just got incredible attacking options. You don't want to play knight d5 right away. It allows this mate, but this d5 square is going to come into play at some point, and we'll see how it all works out. Okay, so here now Black backpedals with rook c8, so now Black's given back one of the tempos. Remember when I said earlier rook to c8 might have been better? Well, here he lost a tempo. Of course, then maybe White wouldn't have castled queenside too, so we don't know. But White gets his king off the open, or the potential open file. And then here White plays kamikaze attack. Basically take my knight, and I'm going to have an attack on the rook file. And actually, at several points, Black can actually take it. Let's look at it right here. Okay, you can see the basic motive. It opens up this file, and if this knight runs to the wrong square, then White has a checkmate. Where are you going to put the knight? If you put it on e8, queen h7 is mate. So at some point, White can play knight e4 and or maybe even bishop e4, and shut the file off. I mean, shut that diagonal off. Let's look at it this way: bishop e4, pinning the queen, which pretty much forces this. And then, oh wait, we can't go knight e4. Let's see, it looks like we're going to have to give the piece back. Oh no, wait, we have knight e5 here. And, you know, maybe we have to give the piece back. I don't know. In some cases, it's just scary to take. I know that Black could even play knight e4 in this position, and the point is he's planning to play knight to g5, and he's covering h7. But this is kind of shaky. There are some positions where it can be taken, but for the most part, if you look at it, it's all predicated on Black capturing that knight. What happens if he doesn't capture the knight? Then, well, then White's attack goes nowhere. It's just that simple. Excuse me. So, whoop, that didn't happen. Okay, queen e5. Okay, so this is good. Just ignore the exchange. It seems kind of funny to walk into the diagonal of this bishop, but actually now Black is contemplating taking this knight, and he can take back on g5 with the queen. So White goes all barrels. You know, he's gonna try to checkmate Black. Gives up a pawn. I don't think he just doesn't get enough compensation for it, for the material sacrificed. And let's stop and take stock. Black has 6 pawns, White has 5, and this knight is still it's shaky. It could be taken right here, I think. Let's see. If you take, now you put the bishop here, which again pretty much forces this back here, and you know, you can give back the piece in order to get the queens off. Now White still has a bit of a nuisance of an attack here, but it's about to peter out. And Black's just riding a solid pawn. That's just one way to handle it if all else fails. Okay, so like I say, at some points that knight could have been taken, but it doesn't really matter that it wasn't. What Black does fine the way he plays it, and White attacks the queen, and Black safes it. Bishop comes back here, and then here's a very interesting move, trying to open up all the lines. And there comes a combination where White's going to win the exchange, giving up a minor piece for the rook, but Black's counterattack just gets overwhelming. And Black noted he saw the combination, but he didn't know how to stop it. Well, you had to find there's one minor tweak I'll show you here in a minute that could have made it a little bit better. Okay, you took here, and now White desperados his queen. Now here's the point where you could have saved one tempo. How to take back on c8. Black has 4 ways to take, and if you took with the rook, okay, and then after bishop takes queen on d7, Black needs to take back with one knight or the other. But look at this. Here's the difference. After queen takes, if you take with the queen, here's the difference. This is the same position as before with White to move, with the difference being that your knight is not back on d7. It's here on b6, or of course you could take with this knight too. Either one could take. This gains a tempo over the main line. Your knights are farther advanced. Here it's White's move. And then let's look at how you did it. Compare it. Okay, queen takes. You took with the rook. Now after bishop takes, and when you took with this, see the difference in the position? It's still white's move, but your knight's on d7. And does it really make a difference? Probably not. Black's game was fine, but it's just a little nuance. But take with the queen first and keep your knights where they were. And white's got some serious problems here in his position. This knight is under attack, and the mating ideas are gone, so white needs to save it. And let's just try this move, safeguard g2. I think black can just take it, double up the white pawns, and suddenly the black game gets very active. Black's got an immediate threat here. The threat is to put a knight on d5 and then check on c3 and administer a mate on a2. So white's got some issues here, and this knight, it being on b6 as opposed to being on d7, it's ready to jump into action in several ways, or even into d5 itself. This is an example of why I think saving the tempo is better, but it really doesn't matter. Black's game was fine. You got incredible play the way you did it still, but that would have saved the tempo. So now let's get back to the game. And here you stopped and checked. We could and the way you handled it was fine. You're basically bringing the king out into a mating net. Once the king crossed the third rank, or the second rank onto the third, I'm pretty sure it's a goner. And maybe there was a quick win missed. It doesn't really matter. That king's it's not getting any help. It's not going to get back, and you're just driving it further and farther up the board, and it's basically doomed. So the way you played it worked great too. I just saw that way to save a tempo, and I thought I'd point it out. I'm not sure if white could have done any better here, but that king's in serious trouble, and this has got to be a fun game from your part, just to chase that king like that. Look at that; it has to go down to the back rank now, and you're just tying it up and circling it. What can he do? There's nothing white can do here. He brings his rook back. That's kind of funny. He had one piece down there to help the king, and he brought it back. Anyway, it's all over. This is a nice finish. Okay, look at that. 2 knights, a bishop, and a rook, all chasing that king. It's beautiful. And he brings the rook back. Too little, too late. And now it's mate in 2. And very nice finish. So you have a lot to be proud of in this game. There's a couple little technicalities here and there, but it worked out for you. It wasn't as full of errors as you thought. I thought you played very well. Okay, thanks everyone for their time. Take care. Bye now.